How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. You guys can tell by the title of the video, we're going to be talking about the overall market here because, again, if you did end up watching my market in-depth analysis yesterday, you guys know what we were supposed to be looking out for. But again, Bitcoin has done it. It has dropped below $100,000, which is absolutely insane to think of. So we're going to be talking about what we could be expecting. I'm going to share my personal thoughts with you guys. Again, if you hold altcoins, if you hold Bitcoin, you do want to obviously watch this video. So you can see across the board as of November the 4th, we are seeing tremendous amount of red once again across the board, and that is due to the overall market conditions. You're seeing some coins that are performing, and that's pretty much only Internet Computer and DCR. Internet Computer is just on an absolute tear lately. Again, if you've watched my Internet Computer updates, you guys know my overall take on that. But again, the broader market is seeing massive amounts of uncertainty. Take a look at it on a weekly time frame. Take a look at it on a monthly time frame. There is a lot of uncertainty. Over the last 1 hour, we've seen a little bit of a bounce, obviously, after the price of Bitcoin did retest below $100,000. We've seen a little bit of a bounce, but again, it's not a time to be jumping around just yet because we have retested below the 100,000. Obviously, we're going to see a little bit of a bounce, sooner rather than later, and we're seeing that happening, but we're nowhere near as to where we need to be for Bitcoin. But let's take a closer look and see what's happening. Before we do that, as always, just a quick disclaimer. Anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. I think we're going to start talking about market in-depth analysis once a day. Again, if you want to see that, smash that like button, guys, and make sure your bell icon is on so you're notified every time I make an upload on the market. So you can see for yourself at this point, every single thing at this point over the last 24 hours, except Internet Computer and one more coin. But other than that in the top 100, everything seems to be down right now. Looking at it on a weekly time frame and looking at it on a monthly time frame, that gives you a very clear indication how much fear there is across the board. And as far as fear is concerned, if you're looking at it on a fear and greed index we are in the extreme fear zone. And again remember, there's a famous saying: be greedy while others are fearful, be fearful while others are greedy. People that are picking up the bloodbath right now are the ones that do tend to do good in the long haul, especially the projects that have a real use case. But again there is a massive discount across the board. But the question now is people are just not understanding. The price of Bitcoin is plummeting down, but you're seeing stock market not looking as bad, but you're seeing Bitcoin going down. But if you're looking at the gold price, again, gold is going down after having such a crazy rally. So is Bitcoin correlating itself with gold? Is that taking place, or is it market makers just stepping in to shake out the weak hands and just really take the price of Bitcoin below the $100,000 price point? As we know, I discussed in my yesterday's update that whether or not this is an extension to the bull market, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. But take a look at this. Bitcoin has officially dropped below $100,000 for the first time since June of 2025. That is crazy to think about. But take a look at this. $1.1 billion in long positions has been liquidated today alone. But if you're looking at the dominance, see for yourself, dominance came up to 61% yesterday. You could see for yourself, dominance is picking up 60.75% as of recording this update. But again, dominance did not break above where we were yesterday or last night, I would say, which is a good thing in my opinion, because let's say the dominance was sitting above 61%, we would have seen much more red for altcoins today. But again, that does not mean Bitcoin dominance cannot pick up traction, because it's literally on the verge of breaking out once again. So that's something to be looking out for. But let's take a look at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, see for yourself, guys. Bitcoin did not only fill the wick at $102,000 price point, we dropped below that key range, making our way down to the $100,000 price point. And again, on this chart, you can't really see Bitcoin dropping below 100, but it indeed was able to drop below $100,000 briefly. But it is something that we revisited. We have introduced ourselves to that which itself should tell you that, once you introduce yourself, to some of these key support levels, then, usually that does tend to become, much easier to get to that range, especially when you are in a downwards trend. You can see for yourself, if you watch my update yesterday, I did say $100,000, there's massive liquidity, do expect a bounce. And that is exactly what we have seen happen. You can see for yourself, we went up about 1.5% for Bitcoin. And I think, we could still maybe retest the likes of $102,000, which was our obviously wick from October 10th. But, we're not where we need to be. And again, at this point, I do personally believe maybe Bitcoin does, because, it's already introduced itself below $100,000. Maybe Bitcoin does, pull down and, do this pattern that we have obviously highlighted to you guys. We've seen this in the past. Bitcoin is in this upwards trend, believe it or not. Yes, the price of Bitcoin is going down, but you need to understand this upward trend for Bitcoin is still in play, meaning it has still not been invalidated. It's still intact, and we are still in this upwards trend. But with that being said, if you take these two, time frames and see how the price reacted, we've seen 30% pullbacks, and right now, if you consider that, and if we were to see a similar pattern playing out, again, 30% puts Bitcoin, like I said, at around 86,000 at the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement level. And right now, obviously, the $100,000 support line is holding for us. But if the price is able to drop below here and we don't hold around this range, I think, there is a very, very strong possibility that the price of Bitcoin could go down to the 97K key range. And, most importantly, even push down to 94,600, retesting the 0.50 fib zone close to that. The sooner this happens, the better it is, in my opinion. And again, obviously, when you look at it from that perspective, we are still in this upwards trend. Altcoins, yes, they are being impacted heavily due to this, but this is why we don't ignore Bitcoin. This is why we don't ignore Bitcoin. Going back to what I said, yes, altcoins are on a mega sale, especially the projects that have strong utility, that have a real use case. There is a massive sale. So, like I said, look in the past what people have done. People that have picked up during when there's a lot of uncertainty do tend to do good when the markets turn around. And I've been in the space for almost 10 years. I've seen it time and time out, and I do personally believe that we will see the market rebounding once again once Bitcoin stabilizes itself. But in the meantime, alts are definitely going to obviously go down, but alts already have been going down quite significantly. So like I said, in terms of an opportunity standpoint for solid projects, it's definitely there right now, especially if you are a long-term holder. And obviously, if you want a dollar cost average in, and you are already dollar cost averaging in, and I'm sure at this point I don't even need to remind you, but people that are picking up for the long haul, I'm sure they're not even complaining at this point. But again, Bitcoin, yes, we've seen a little bit of a bounce. We could even go up to $102,000, maybe even to $103,000. But again, we're nowhere near our confirmation. Again, 23.6 is where we need to be. And at this point, the dropping below such a, important level, reintroducing ourselves to that, I think we see a little bit more downside for Bitcoin. And, in terms of the market extension, could we really see the market, pushing, into 2026 on a bullish note? I think, the possibility of that is increasing, in my opinion, because historically speaking, yes, even if the bull market were to come to an end around this time, you should have seen, some November, December, and October to still have some sort of bullish price action for altcoins specifically. Bitcoin had an all-time high in October. A lot of people have forgotten that. But in terms of the wide market, we haven't really seen that type of excitement, and that kind of makes me wonder, maybe this is an extension into 2026. A lot of analysts, of course, a lot of crypto OGs are saying that, but again, I really do hope some of you were able to lock some profits in when you did see those profits, those extensive amounts of profits across the board. But again, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. As of now, pretty much to wrap up this video, I am not, convinced with Bitcoin right now. I think Bitcoin has more downside left due to it reintroducing itself below 100K. That is something that I personally think, of course, unless if we get back above the 23.6, we would be having a different conversation. But at this point, we are sitting at a very, very important support line. And if we drop below here, I think altcoins, along with Bitcoin, obviously along with the dominance could go up, and altcoins could actually see a little bit more downside in the coming days. So I'll keep you guys updated. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Again, as far as altcoins are concerned, XRP at $2.20, Ethereum at $3,288, Solana at $156, Dogecoin, Cardano. You guys see the list goes on and on and on here. But again, you got to take it one step at a time. Let me know in the comments what you guys personally think. We'll see you later. Been Crypto ZX, and peace out.